Hi everyone, it's Laura from Sweet Handmade Cookies. Welcome to the Sweet Handmade Cookies kitchen, where today I'm transforming these ingredients into enough dough for 200 cookies. Follow along on this day in the life of a bakery owner. Today's video is what typically happens on a Monday in my kitchen. I did paperwork in the morning, planning my busy week's orders, and now it is after lunch and I'm working in making 6 batches of dough, which will make about 200 cookies. I use cold butter directly from the fridge and I warm it slightly in the microwave. So I cut the 454 gram blocks of butter into thick slices and microwave them at 20% power for about 6 minutes. While the butter is in the microwave, I'm prepping the eggs. I have plenty of bowls, so I like to get them all cracked ahead of time for each of the 6 batches of dough I'm making. I crack them into the red bowl. That makes it easier to see any pieces of shell. And then I scrape the seeds of a vanilla bean for each batch as well, which I add to the egg bowls. Next, I'm measuring the flour, and I prefer to measure my flour by weight, so here I am using a scale to do that. And then I add the salt. And now it's time to mix the ingredients together using my KitchenAid mixer. First, I add the softened butter and the sugar to the bowl and combine these ingredients using the paddle attachment. I mix until the sugar is just incorporated into the butter. Now I add the eggs and vanilla, and I mix this just until the liquid of the eggs is mixed into the butter-sugar mixture. A little tidy up of the paddle attachment, and it is time to add the flour and salt. I mix this until fully combined and there is no dry flour left in the bowl, and as you can see, it's a very stiff dough. Now I have made 6 batches of dough and I've divided that dough into extra large freezer bags. You'll see that in a minute. But first I need to wash up the dishes I created when I made the dough. I love an empty sink and I love a clean kitchen. I don't have a dishwasher in my cookie kitchen, so I use the Health Board approved 2-sink dishwashing method. This involves scraping all the dishes, washing them in hot soapy water, and rinsing them under running water before soaking them in a diluted bleach solution and allowing them to drip dry. I have a fancy new motion-activated soap dispenser that makes doing the dishes just a little bit more fun. The mixer bowl, the green spatula, the plates, and the paddle attachments are the greasiest of the dishes, so you will see I wash them all. Then I empty the sink and refill it and rewash those dishes to make sure they are sparkling clean and completely grease-free. With the exception of the white bowls I used for the eggs, all of these dishes and utensils are actually dedicated to the dough making process. I never use them for making royal icing. I have a separate mixing bowl and separate spatulas for that process. Here you can see the dough portioned into the extra large freezer bags that I will roll out, but first I need to do a little bit more cleaning. I have to wipe up any flour spills from the island and the counter. And now let's tackle that dough. I have 15 bags that each contain 750 grams of dough. I shape the contents into a log and then flatten that log a little bit. I have found that makes the rolling process easier and it makes for a better rolled dough at the end. Let's put Eugene, my dough sheeter, to work. It takes me just over 60 seconds per bag to roll out each bag of dough to my desired thickness. The Eugene dough sheeter comes in both an electric and manual version, but because there are no outlets on or close to my island, I opted for the manual version, and I have no regrets choosing it. Rolling the dough with this sheeter is a breeze. I can literally use just one finger to turn that crank if necessary, and no more sore shoulders. And while I'm rolling this dough, I'll tell you what's on the schedule for the week. First, I have to make 2 dozen character cookies and 2 dozen baby shower cookies. They will be picked up first this week, so I will bake these cookies before I end this workday. Then I have another set of baby shower cookies, 4 dozen in fact, and then 2 dozen cookies for a 50th birthday party. a 3 dozen cookie corporate order that I will use my edible ink printer for, and finally another 4 dozen cookies for a corporate order that will be a combination of edible ink printer and piping details. It's going to be a long week. Once I finish rolling the dough, I will put the bags of dough into my freezer. I like to work with chilled dough, so the freezer chills it quickly, but it also stores my dough until I need it. I just take the dough out of the freezer about 20 to 30 minutes before I want to cut the shapes, and then I leave it in the freezer bags until I'm ready to work with it. So the dough was in the freezer for a few hours, but about 20 minutes ago, I pulled out the number of bags I will need to cut 48 cookies. And I have moved the first sheet of dough to a piece of parchment paper and have started cutting out the shapes. All the scraps go back into the freezer bag to be re-rolled, and I'm working on the next piece of rolled dough. So while I have about 40 cookie sheets in my kitchen, only 4 of them ever see the inside of the oven, and I use the remaining cookie sheets to decorate the cookies on. So as I cut the first 32 cookies, I load up the cookie sheets headed to the oven, and I finish cutting the remaining cookies. I just stack them on the side of that parchment, and they will go into the oven after I cycle through the first 4 cookie sheets. The oven is actually already on, and the first cookies are already in the oven. There's no time to waste. It's already 7:30 in the evening. After I cut the 24 circle cookies for the character cookies, I move on to the square plaque cookies for the baby shower cookies. As I pull this next sheet of rolled dough out, it cracks and splits along the one side, but not to worry, I push it back together, and the heat of the oven will fuse the pieces back together. I'll just be extra careful with the pieces that I cut that straddle that split. Now that all the cookies have been cut, all I have left to do is finish baking them. I start my cookies on the bottom third of the oven for half of the baking time before moving them to the top third for the remainder. While the baking is finishing up, I wash the cookie cutters, re-roll the dough scraps, wipe down all the surfaces, and sweep up the kitchen. The workday is finally done. And I thought I would end this video with a quick glimpse of the 200 cookies that came out of this dough making day. First for the character cookies, then this first baby shower set. This next set was actually for a gender reveal party, but my cookies did not reveal the gender, they were just an add-on to the festivities. A 50th birthday set, Happy Birthday Eve, the first corporate order of the week that were printed with my edible ink printer, and then another corporate set that was a combination of edible ink printing and piping. Thank you for following along with this day in my cookie kitchen. I hope you enjoyed the process. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next week for another video from the Sweet Handmade Cookies Kitchen.